It's March 24th, 2025, and the world is on edge. For decades, the US dollar has been the king of global finance. It's the currency most countries use for international trade, with about 58% of the world's foreign exchange reserves held in dollars, according to the International Monetary Fund. Oil, gold, and other critical commodities are mostly bought and sold in dollars, giving the US immense power. This dominance lets America borrow at lower costs and wield sanctions like a geopolitical weapon, freezing countries like Russia and Iran out of the global economy. But that power is now under threat. China, the world's second largest economy, has been pushing back. Since the US-China trade war kicked off in 2018, and with sanctions on Russia intensifying after the 2022 Ukraine invasion, China has been working to reduce its reliance on the dollar. Beijing is worried. Its financial system holds massive dollar assets, and the fear of US sanctions hitting Chinese banks is real. A 2024 Carnegie Endowment report highlighted China's growing concerns, noting that US sanctions on Russia have deepened Beijing's fears of a similar fate. What if the US froze China's dollar reserves, especially with tensions over Taiwan heating up? Enter the BRICS nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, now expanded to include Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE. Together, they account for nearly a third of global GDP, according to the World Bank. For years, BRICS leaders have talked about creating a new reserve currency to challenge the dollar. At the 2024 BRICS summit, Russian President Vladimir Putin called for a new international payment system, saying the dollar is being used as a weapon. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has questioned why global trade must rely on the dollar, pushing for alternatives. China, meanwhile, has been promoting its renminbi or yuan through systems like the Cross-Border Interbank Payment System, CIPS, which makes yuan payments easier for international trade. But here's the twist. While the BRICS are pushing for de-dollarization, experts are skeptical. A 2023 Al Jazeera report noted that creating a BRICS currency is fanciful and unrealistic, because these countries have vastly different economies. China's yuan isn't fully convertible due to capital controls, and nations like India and Brazil have their own economic struggles. Plus, the dollar's dominance is deeply entrenched. JP Morgan research in 2024 predicted that any meaningful erosion of the dollar's status would take decades. So is the dollar really in danger, or is this all just geopolitical posturing? Let's imagine a scenario. It's late March 2025, and China decides to take a bold step. Frustrated by US sanctions on its tech companies and threats over Taiwan, Beijing announces a new policy. Any country trading with China must settle at least 50% of transactions in yuan, not dollars. At the same time, China imposes sanctions on US financial institutions, blocking them from using CIPS and restricting their access to yuan-based trade. The BRICS nations, led by China and Russia, rally behind this move, with India and Brazil reluctantly agreeing to shift some trade to local currencies. Saudi Arabia, a new BRICS ally, starts pricing a portion of its oil in yuan, a move that sends shockwaves through global markets. The US dollar takes a hit. The dollar index, which measures the greenback against other major currencies, drops 10% in a week. Oil prices spike as traders scramble to adjust to the new reality. In the US, inflation surges. Gas prices jump to $6 a gallon, and the cost of imported goods like electronics and clothing skyrockets. The stock market plunges, with the Dow Jones falling 15% in a matter of days. Small businesses, already struggling, start to close. In a small town in Ohio, a diner owner named Sarah Mitchell is forced to lay off half her staff. "I can't afford the new prices for supplies," she says, her voice breaking. "Everything's gone up and customers aren't coming in like they used to." Sarah's story isn't unique. Across America, families feel the pinch. The economic chaos sparks protests in major cities, with people demanding answers from Washington. President Trump, who returned to office in January 2025, threatens 100% tariffs on BRICS nations. As reported by Reuters in January 2025, "You leave the dollar, you're not doing business with the US," he declares at a rally. But economists warn that such tariffs could backfire, driving up prices even more for American consumers, as noted by CBS News in December 2024. The Peterson Institute for International Economics estimates that Trump-era tariffs already cost U.S. households $800 a year. Imagine what 100% tariffs would do. Back in Ohio, Sarah's diner is on the brink of closing. One rainy afternoon, as she's wiping down the counter, a family walks in, a Chinese immigrant couple, Lee and Mei Chen, and their young daughter, Jia. They've just moved to town, fleeing the economic uncertainty in their home country. Lee, a former factory worker, and Mei, a teacher, are struggling to make ends meet in the U.S. amid the dollar crisis. They sit at a booth, looking at the menu with worried expressions. Jia, a bright-eyed 8-year-old, points at a picture of a milkshake. "Can we get one, Mama?" she asks. Mei hesitates, counting the few dollars in her hand. Sarah notices their hesitation and walks over. "First time here?" she asks with a warm smile. Mei nods shyly. We don't have much," she admits. "Things are hard right now." Sarah's heart aches. She knows that feeling all too well. Despite her own struggles, she makes a decision. "You know what? This one's on me," she says, sliding a milkshake in front of Jia. The little girl's face lights up, and Lee and Mei look at Sarah with gratitude. "Thank you," Lee says, his voice thick with emotion. "You don't know how much this means to us." Over the next hour, Sarah and the Chens talk. Lee shares how they left China because of the economic fallout from the Sanctions war. Factories shut down and jobs disappeared. Sarah tells them about her diner, how she's been pouring her heart into it since her husband passed away 5 years ago. I just want to keep this place alive for the community," she says. Mei, who used to teach English in China, offers to help. "I can make flyers. Maybe teach some classes here to bring people in," she suggests. Sarah's eyes brighten. "You do that?" she asks. Mei nods. We help each other. That's how we survive." Sarah and the Chen's partnership becomes a small beacon of hope. Mei's English classes and flyers bring new customers to the diner, and Sarah starts a pay what you can night to help struggling families. The diner becomes a community hub, a place where people come together despite the economic chaos outside. Meanwhile, on the global stage, the U.S. and BRICS nations begin to negotiate. The threat of tariffs forces a dialogue, and both sides realize that a fragmented global economy benefits no one. The International Monetary Fund's 2023 warning about trade fragmentation leading to slower growth rings true, and cooler heads prevail. The dollar remains the world's reserve currency for now, but the crisis has exposed its vulnerabilities. China's push for the yuan and the BRICS' de-dollarization efforts have planted seeds of change. As J.P. Morgan noted in 2024, the dollar's dominance is structural, but a shift toward a multipolar financial world is possible in the long term. For Sarah, Lee, Mei, and Jia, the lesson is clear. In times of crisis, kindness and community can bridge even the widest divides.